This week in Louisiana agriculture, rising from the rubble. Smith Creamery milk is again in stores, and the company's chief competitor could not be happier.
The LSU AgCenter is reaching out to help rice farmers in South Louisiana. I'm Kristen Oakes, and I'll have that story coming up.
And what do you get when you throw together eggplant, rice, beef, and two people who want to make you look trim and terrific? Let's just say it's delicious. Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us. Michael Dano will join us in just a few minutes. You can again find Smith Creamery milk in stores across southeastern Louisiana. An explosion at the dairy in Washington Parish on June 22nd destroyed more than the building, but the business Warren Smith built for the last decade. The reason you can again enjoy Smith Creamery milk is because Baton Rouge competitor Klein Peter Farms Dairy is stepping in to show that the family that is agriculture is more important than money.
From disaster to distribution in less than a month. That's the story of Smith Creamery in Mount Hermon, Louisiana.
I don't call them a competitor that everybody wants to call it. They're a family in need.
And here you see two families combined, the Klein Peters and the Smiths. The Klein Peters will now bottle and ship Louisiana milk made the same way as Smith Creamery, pasteurized but not homogenized with the Smith label. And the profits from the sale go to the Smith family.
Words can't express how I feel about everything that's taking place. And in other words, because we've had some things to deal with, but in other words, this is really tremendous for us.
It's a partnership that brings tears to Warren Smith's daughter, Michelle, and hope for a family that has yet to decide whether or not to rebuild.
A month ago, we didn't have any options at all, basically. So in other words, it's just going to give us time to where we can sit down and talk and see how we're going to do or what we're going to do.
Jeff Kleinpeter says he's just doing what farmers and ranchers do every day, helping a neighbor.
I know that's going on. You know it. You see it in our industry. But we never hear about good stories like that in the media. And here's one right here that's in the public eye that shows how the agriculture community really partners to bring crops and food to the dinner table every night.
The agreement between Klein Peter and Smith Creamery actually expands the distribution for Smith Creamery milk. You will now be able to find Smith Creamery milk in all 34 Rouse's stores in Louisiana. While Klein Peter is not producing Smith Creamery's popular chocolate milk at this time, we're told that that secret family recipe is in the Klein Peters' hands, and you should find it again in the coming weeks. Millions of dollars in budget cuts will likely force the LSU AgCenter to declare a state of financial emergency just 1 month into its fiscal year. AgCenter Chancellor Dr. Bill Richardson told the LSU Board of Supervisors at their last meeting that the AgCenter's exigency declaration will give more freedom to the AgCenter to lay off tenured faculty, cut programs, and community outreach services. This all comes in the face of $26 million in direct and indirect budget cuts over the past 2 years. The last time the AgCenter declared financial exigency was almost 6 years ago following Hurricane Katrina. Richardson says while he does have the support of the system president, John Lombardi, it's been extremely difficult to mitigate the effects of an ever-tightening budget.
We've got people doing 2 and 3 things when they used to do only 1. And so it's been impossible, and we're to the point now where we can't do that any longer. We can't continue to ask our people to pick up that much slack, and we're going to have to say, okay, these programs, A, B, C, D, and E, whatever they may be, are core programs at AgCenter, and we're going to have the quality faculty, both in research and extension, we need to fulfill the mission of those programs.
2 months ago, the AgCenter shut down its Calhoun Research Station near Monroe, the Rose Pine Research Station in Vernon Parish, and the former Citrus Station in Plaquemines Parish. Record high grain prices led many Louisiana farmers to invest in corn or soybeans rather than rice this season. Figures from the U.S. Department of Agriculture show the 2011 Louisiana rice crop is down 120,000 acres from last year. At the LSU AgCenter's annual Rice Field Day, this week in Louisiana Agriculture's Kristen Oakes explains how rice farmers are facing not only low prices, but also record heat and statewide drought conditions.
These rice plants are still green and thriving, despite all the elements working against them. Floodwaters, drought conditions, and high fuel costs left Louisiana rice farmers struggling for solutions to make a profit. Here in Crowley, farmers sought out support at the LSU AgCenter's Rice Field Day. Sweltering heat and humidity didn't keep farmers from the annual tour, where rice specialists, industry leaders, and fellow farmers offered ideas to survive this rough rice year.
So our production cost was quite a bit higher than historical, and these energy costs where they at, it's It's really hitting the bottom line.
Rice Tech employees like Cullen Minter were on hand to offer Louisiana farmers solutions to help their bottom line.
We've got some new products that we're excited about with improved characteristics that may help the farmers through seasons like this where we had drought and kind of adverse growing conditions.
Farmers can also bring their plant problems to the field day for an expert diagnosis and a remedy.
This rice plant is affected by hydrogen sulfide.
Rice specialist Johnny Saychuk says he set up a trouble desk a few years ago to help farmers solve their rice mysteries.
And what we started doing was bringing in examples to show people problems that, so they might be able to identify them. And then they started bringing stuff in on the day of the field day for us to identify the problem.
From root rot to prices, these rice specialists offered their solutions to help farmers' problems. And as the tour rolled to an end, farmers took home a few new tools to help them sweat through the rest of the season. In Crowley, I'm Kristen Oakes for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
LSU AgCenter rice breeders introduced 2 new trial plant varieties. The first, a more aromatic Jazzman 2 rice, and a new long grain variety by Clearfield, CL152. Farming is a business, and like with any business, it's important for farmers to stay informed and connected to what's going on around them. Since many farmers live in rural areas where affordable high-speed internet service is not available, it's tougher for farmers to stay connected. Well, the merger between AT&T and T-Mobile may change that. And this week in Louisiana Agriculture's Michael Dana is sitting down with the president of AT&T Louisiana to talk about just that.
Well, Avery, if you are like me, I live in a rural area and for the last 10 years have had to surf the internet via AOL, and it takes me about 3 minutes to log on to get to my email, and that's a lot of the problem across rural Louisiana, because despite the fact that we have made tremendous strides in agriculture and technology, for a lot of Louisiana, they are still not connected to the internet via high speed. This morning we're going to be talking about a program to change that. Joining us now is Sonia Perez. She is the president of AT&T Louisiana, and she joins us to talk about an initiative that hopefully will bring high-speed internet to a lot of Louisianans that don't have it now. Sonia Perez, welcome to This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate having you interview me this morning. As you know, the Louisiana Farm Bureau has really stepped up in support of an initiative that's going to bring mobilized broadband, the latest generation of broadband technology, to rural Louisiana. Is a huge rural initiative, and that's the AT&T T-Mobile USA merger. Completion of the merger is going to provide what we're calling 4G LTE technology, and basically what that is mobile broadband from anywhere you are, wherever you are. People in rural Louisiana are looking to use broadband to do things like monitor their babies, to open their garage doors, to use their cell phones. Farmers are some of the most sophisticated users of mobile broadband technology, and they do that in ways like monitoring weather patterns so that they'll know how much water to send to their crops. They're monitoring how much seed they're planting in their fields through technology, and this merger is going to allow them greater capacity for doing just that.
When someone like me who lives in a rural area hears about an initiative like this, the first thing I ask myself is, how soon am I going to be able to log on to the internet high speed? Because, a lot of times we hear about these initiatives, but when you talk about a merger, obviously this must have to have FCC approval. This takes time. What's the timeline involved in this program?
Well, we've got a timeline where we're looking for the FCC and the Department of Justice to approve it as quickly as possible. As a matter of fact, the Louisiana Public Service Commission has decided to review it to assure that it is in the public interest, and Commissioner Holloway has been a great champion of that effort and that initiative. We want to show that Louisiana is business friendly. We want to show that the people of Louisiana, particularly rural Louisiana, want this initiative. As soon as the merger is complete, we will begin deploying and predict that, or are working towards the majority of the deployment being done within the first 3 years after that merger is done. Some of the impact will be immediate because we'll be taking over cell towers that will show great and significant improvement, particularly in rural Louisiana.
One of the partners you all are working with is the LSU AgCenter through a program called Connect My Louisiana. Last week at the Farm Bureau Convention, we had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Paul Carell. He is the Vice Chancellor of the LSU AgCenter, and here's what he had to say about how this will improve connectivity not only to rural residents, but to farmers in particular.
Once there's a demand and there's a critical mass of demand, then it's much easier for a company to come in and say, okay, we're going to run lines, we're going to run service. And so we're going to kind of not build it and they will come, tell them you need to be coming, and then they'll build it.
We're just about out of time, but I want to ask you one quick question. If I'm an AT&T customer, will I see any changes?
You'll see less drop calls. You'll see improved communication via faster downloads, quicker uploads. You're going to be seeing efficiencies in the network that you never experienced before, and we're very proud to be bringing that to rural Louisiana in particular.
Well, Sonia Perez, thanks for being on the program, and good luck with the merger.
Thank you, Mike.
And Avery, of course, we'll keep an eye on this story as we look forward to more and faster wireless connections. Back to you.
Thanks, Mike, and I know you can't wait until you no longer hear the sound of a dial-up modem. Well, another issue facing farmers in Louisiana is age. The average farmer is 57 years old, but this is where researchers at the LSU AgCenter hope to change that in this lab in St. Gabriel, not with some great discovery, but by showing these high schoolers and recent graduates the exciting careers in agriculture. These students are members of the Louisiana Young Ag Producers Program, or LYAP for short. This marks the beginning of the second year of the program. LYAP coordinator Dr. Bradley Leger presided over the inaugural LYAP graduation at the 89th Annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention in New Orleans. He says this program works well because it links students with mentors who show them lessons they cannot learn in the classroom.
When they're doing this program, we want them to feel that this is doable, that they think, well, yes, I think I can do this, because they'll have a good support system, they'll have a good backup system, and they're starting to network with their own peers as well, too.
If you would like to learn more about LYAP, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, still to come on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, save room for dessert. Holly and AJ are making one that's trim and terrific. But first, in this week's Ag Minute, Kristen Oakes shows us the next best thing to homegrown. Stay with us. As home gardens wilt in this summer's extreme heat, many folks are turning to Louisiana's farmers markets for fresh produce. Joining me now is Kristen Oakes with this week's Ag Minute. And Kristen, I guess the farmers market really is the best alternative to that garden.
Well, you know, every morning I remember getting up with my mom and going to pick out peaches and blueberries at the farmers market every summer. And the idea behind the market was simple: cut out the middleman so farmers could sell their produce directly to the consumer.
On the surface, there was nothing really remarkable about it. A group of different farmers selling fruits and vegetables fresh from their garden. But it was a modest idea that changed the way we shop for our groceries. Our ancestors, the country's very first farmers, took their extra crops to the town square to trade them for other goods. But modern-day markets have a much shorter history. In 1979, the farmers of Gardena, California, wanted to bring fresh fruits and vegetables to low-income neighborhoods where quality produce was hard to find. The idea would also help small family farms survive in a hostile world of commercial agriculture. Not only did they succeed at those two goals, they changed the way farming and the produce industry functioned. Today, farmers markets seem to be everywhere. Cashing in more than $1 billion in sales last year, these farmers markets are a thriving part of the U.S. agriculture economy.
Now, the Louisiana Department of Ag and Forestry offers coupons for senior citizens to shop for fresh produce at their local farmers markets. To find out more about this program, visit our website, twilatv.org. Now moving on to Twila Trivia. Last week I asked you, tourism contributes how much money on average to the New Orleans economy? And the answer is B, $4 billion. For this week's trivia, about how many farmers markets are located in the United States? Is it A, 6,000, B, 9,000, or C, 15,000? All you need to do is log on to our website, you know the address, twilatv.org, submit your answer, and we'll send one correct entry, a Twila prize pack, and a copy of Holly Clegg's newest cookbook, Too Hot in the Kitchen. And Avery, there's actually some really good stuff in here.
Especially after you make that trip to the farmer's market. Thanks a lot, Kristen. An eggplant is one of those vegetables you can pick up fresh from your local farmer's market. And in this month's Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen, Holly and AJ are going to show you a great casserole you can make with eggplant, beef, and Louisiana rice.
Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, rice, a world of great ideas, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Kitchen facilities provided by the Around Town television show.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen. I am A.J. Sabine, of course, with Holly Clegg. And Holly, it's July, and you've got a wonderful eggplant dish for us.
I do. It's eggplant, rice, and beef. 3 really great ingredients. And it's easy, because you know everything I do is easy.
And it's also trim and terrific.
Also trim and terrific. So we're going to get started, because I think this time of year everybody has a garden, and you know, fresh produce is so plentiful, so I have to make something with the eggplant.
Absolutely. You know, I have an eggplant story. When I was a kid, my grandmother, she grew her own garden. It was about a ½ acre, and I used to help her every summer pick eggplants. So eggplant is very, very dear to my heart.
Well,
so how do we put all this together?
Okay, it's very simple. And again, we just do your eggplant. You peel them and cut them into little chunks. Okay. We just have onion, a little garlic, and a little ground meat. And I've used ground sirloin. So
Yummy.
With the magic of TV, blah, 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 you want to saute it till it gets very tender. And it doesn't take long, but this is almost like a dirty rice dressing type of thing.
Can I smell that? Because that looks wonderful.
It's getting ready to get better.
Oh my God, that smells great.
Then we're just going to add a little oregano and basil.
Basil.
We'll give that a little Italian seasoning.
Okay.
Think of dirty rice. You
Absolutely.
know, that's a good dish. Now, speaking of rice, this is our Louisiana rice, and I remember when I drove the combine and actually went to the rice. It was so fun.
Wasn't that awesome?
That combine was overwhelming to drive, but anyway, I did it.
Just think of it as a $300,000 Mercedes-Benz.
I didn't want to think of it that way, but I have a little tidbits about rice. Now, in this recipe, you could really use whatever rice you want. I'm trying to use brown rice because I bet you didn't know this. There's 3.5 grams of fiber in a cup of brown rice compared to less than 1 in a white rice. So it's an easy transition to make.
I did not know that.
I'm even serving my husband.
And did you know, Holly, that Louisiana rice growers grow rice over 400,000 acres here in Louisiana?
No, I did not know that.
You didn't know that.
And also, did you know?
Tell me.
I'm from the cooking standpoint. If you have leftover rice, it freezes.
Does it?
And oh, it comes in so handy for something like this. You could take it out and throw together dinner just in a snap. Okay, so you see you have your wonderful grainy, and I think the brown rice even adds a nutty flavor besides a little boost in nutrition. But again, use whatever you have.
Okay.
And then we're going to just get a casserole dish.
Be careful, that's hot, Holly.
It is hot. Well, this is hot in the kitchen here, okay?
And speaking of kitchen, I want to say thank you to the Around Town TV show for letting us use our wonderful kitchen set.
Absolutely. What would we do without it?
Oh, God, that smells wonderful. Now, what else? We have some cheese that goes in here?
Marinara first.
Marinara first. And did you make this yourself? Did this come from your garden, Holly?
Now, you should know, cooking with me, convenience is the key. You get your favorite jar of marinara sauce and pour it over.
And just like that, liberally?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so this is so wonderful. It's filled with some good nutrition and everything. And here's
some cheese.
And this freezes well too. You
what
can
kind
make
of
it
cheese
ahead
is
of time. This is mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Okay.
And you just do this, and then you're just going to bake it in the oven, 350 for about 30 minutes, just 20, 30 minutes till it.
That looks beautiful. And when we come back, folks, Holly's going to show us how this looks after it's out of the oven. Plus, she's got some other stuff that you guys can use with Louisiana rice. Stick around. Don't you go anywhere. Folks, we're back. Thank you so much for sticking around, and thank the Around Town TV show for allowing us to be here. Holly, show us how this eggplant casserole looks.
Well,
now that it's done.
Right, and here it is in a couple of different ways. You can do it in a casserole, you could do it individually, and I said it's a great make-ahead. It serves a group, and the proof is always in the tasting.
Okay, this looks and smells wonderful, but do my eyes deceive me, or is that gravy on that Louisiana rice?
Very good. You know, my kids, I think, could exist on rice and gravy. So, I mean, that's just such a traditional side. But there are some options with rice. You could even use rice in a cold salad. Louisiana rice mixed in with, you know, fresh cucumbers and tomatoes and all your garden ingredients. Great with a little dressing.
Holly, see, this is wonderful. You were killing me. This is wonderful.
And again, easy, made with several ingredients. You probably have them in your house. Now, dessert. This is my favorite dessert. In fact, I have a craving for it. That's why I made it. It's a margarita cake that starts with a white cake mix, topped with, has a little lime rind in it, and it gives it that just refreshing lime, a little non-alcoholic margarita mix. So
does it have to be non-alcoholic?
Absolutely it does, of course. You want the kids to be able to enjoy it. And we garnished it with a little whipped topping, simple to make. And again, this is such a refreshing dessert to go with a little, you know, heavier meal.
Now, where can folks find recipes for not only the casserole, but the margarita cake as well?
Well, you can find the recipes on my website, which is hollyclegg.com. And you want to join and sign up for my monthly menu newsletter. Great newsletter, comes out monthly with great ideas. I have a blog, the Healthy Cooking blog, or of course, thank you, and to twilatv.org, where all the recipes are, and you know, also prior segments of me cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys would like to find out more information about what Holly Clegg and I are doing in the kitchen, you can always look us up at any time online at twilatv.org. Not to mention the fact, I've got to get some of this cake.
It is. And again, the proof is in the tasting. Look at this. It just melts in your mouth. And I said, honestly, I had a craving for it, so I made it for the
Folks,
TV
I'd
segment.
like to share this with you, but unfortunately, we have to go. See you next time, folks.
Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Rice, a world of great ideas, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Kitchen facilities provided by the Around Town television show.
Earlier in the show, we brought you the story of Klein Peter Farms Dairy's act of charity toward competitor Smith Creamery in their time of need. Joining us now is Neil Melanson with this week's Bottom Line. And Neil, I know that you were there in 2002 when Smith Creamery first opened its doors, and I know you're happy to see they're back in stores.
I am happy about it, Avery, but I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. First, I want to say that what makes me the most happy about this is the effort being made to reverse the fortunes of the dairy industry, which has suffered for decades now. Constant low prices or high overhead costs, as well as setbacks like the explosion at the Smith Creamery or the mastitis that killed heifers in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, have plagued the industry for years. When news like this comes around, it's a reminder that there's still people out there fighting to maintain this way of life that is not only critical for dairy farmers, but for consumers as well. Back when I first covered the opening of Smith Creamery, it was amazing to see a new creamery opening up at a time when many dairies were shutting down. Warren Smith was hopeful and positive about his new endeavor, providing the milk, cheese, and ice cream products that we all love. With its pasteurized but not homogenized milk, it gave consumers a taste of what it's like to live on the farm, milk that still has that creamy taste fresh from the cow. Like Jeff Klein Peter said earlier, I was heartbroken to hear about the explosion that destroyed the Smith family's facilities. I talked with Warren Smith later on in the morning of the explosion, and he was both upset and unsure of what the future would be for his once hopeful endeavor. So when the Klein Peters stepped in, it's the renewal of hope, and now not only will they be back in their original stores, but in 34 Rouses in South Louisiana as well. As I said, though, I'm not surprised, and here's why. This act of generosity is part and parcel of the rural lifestyle. Looking out for neighbors, lending a helping hand, and going that extra mile work just as well business to business as they do person to person. The bottom line is, if we lose dairying, if we lose the rural farming lifestyle, not only do we have to pay higher prices to bring those fresh farm products from afar, but we lose a basic humanity that shines best even when circumstances are worst. And what's more, Avery, I've missed their chocolate milk, and although my waistline certainly hasn't.
Oh, your waistline's going to pay soon enough. I talked to Jeff Klein Peter, and he says he's working on the formula. It'll be in store soon. Thanks a lot, Neil Melanson. And remember, if you want to hear more from Neil, you can listen to his daily reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Radio Network for a list of stations, or to listen to Neil's reports online, you can click over to our website, twilatv.org, and look for the link called LFB Radio Network on the left side of the homepage. Well, that does it for this edition of Twila. Join us next week when we take you to New Orleans, where growing interest in agriculture is the goal of a week-long conference. Until then, you can watch any of our stories online on our website, twilatv.org. For all of us here on the Twila team, I'm Avery Davidson. Hope to see you right here next week.